So we're very excited to start the speaker series this morning with Ms. Tammy North. She's the Director of Naval Information Forces West here in San Diego. She was appointed to the senior leadership position in March of 2021. She represents the Navy's Information Warfare Type Commander, Vice Admiral Ashback, and she's responsible for manning, training, equipping, and maintaining readiness of information warfare forces across the Pacific Fleet. Additionally, as the senior member of the NAVIFOR West staff, she represents the NAVIFOR commander across a broad range of information warfare issues, supporting West Coast commands both ashore and afloat. She's got more than 30 years service to the Navy. I'm not going to run down the whole thing, but she started out as an enlisted sailor, became a naval cryptologic warfare officer, and of course has been in civilian federal service. So I'm going to stop talking and turn the microphone over to Tammy. Welcome to the podium.
Good morning, everybody. As Joe said, I'm Tammy North, the Director of NAVIFOR West. And first of all, I want to thank AFCEA and USNI for consistently putting on such a fantastic event year after year. And it's so nice to see so many of my friends and colleagues that I've known over the last 31 years. I'm just walking through the hall already. I've seen so many people, and it's fantastic to be here with you today. You'll get to hear from my boss, Vice Admiral Ashback, on this exact stage tomorrow at this exact time. And then Vice Admiral Ashback will also be at the TICOM panel, which starts at 10:15 exactly as this panel ends here. So I'm going to scope my remarks to NAVIFOR West and to information warfare readiness afloat, which is what NAVIFOR West mostly does in support of the information warfare commanders and their IW teams on the carrier strike groups and the amphibious readiness groups. So first things first, though, I want you to get something in your mind. Think about one of a disaster movie or an apocalyptic movie that you have seen at some time in your life. Some quick movies that come to my mind are like Jurassic Park, Armageddon, or The Day After Tomorrow. Some of these are, pretty. The world is about to end. They're pretty intense. And the first disaster movie I ever saw was the Poseidon Adventure, so that should give you a clue to how old I am. But we could also add things like Contagion to that list. It might be a little too soon for that. But the way I see it, when you think about these disaster movies and apocalyptic movies, the way I see it, they end in one of three ways. The first type of ending for one of these disaster movies is that, okay, so a lot of things happen ahead of time. Things that people should have seen coming. Things that should have warned them to change course. There's danger up ahead. But yet, often the warning signs were acknowledged and dismissed, or maybe some of the people didn't get the correct information in the first place at all. And some disaster movies that, real or fictitious, that might come to mind are Titanic, Pearl Harbor, the space shuttle disasters, or Chernobyl. And you know how those movies end. Then there's this second common type of ending for these disaster movies. In this situation, there's a disaster. It happened, so it's done. And maybe Pearl Harbor fits in this category. But essentially, the disaster occurred, and then it takes a hero's journey where there are miraculous events that are required in order to prevail over the disaster that has already happened. And if you think about Pearl Harbor in that context, then the hero in that journey is the greatest generation, which is my grandparents' generation, and the way they were able to go to arrive at an Allied victory in World War II. But then there's that third way, the third way disaster movies end. And let me know if you recognize yourself in this one. Essentially, there's a few brilliant men or women. They are at the top of their field, at the top of their industry. They have specialized technical expertise, and they see the warning signs. They see them ahead of time. and they understand the impending doom that's coming. And somehow, they're able to gather a diverse coalition, a diverse team from across industries, from across organizations, and from across all socioeconomic backgrounds. This unexpected team knows what is at stake, and they get to work with intense focus. Some of these people are fresh from a small town farm, and some of them are the PhD level scientists. And yet, somehow, together, they are able to avert global destruction. I think Armageddon might be one of the best examples of this because they were able to get that oil driller up on the asteroid. And then, by doing so, they're able to save the world from disaster. So the thing is, in the Navy, and information warfare specifically, it's this third type of ending that is most common. The work that we do is often behind the scenes, because when that third type of ending happens, often to the rest of the world, the disaster that could have happened did not. And then as a result, the rest of the world just goes on like it's another day. And that's how information warfare is. Often, the work we do is behind the scenes, and most of the world is unaware of the important efforts that you take every day. In that third way, everybody collaborated, communicated, and collaboratively combined their superpowers in order to create the outcome that we need. And friends and colleagues, I have seen you over the last 3 decades. I have seen you every day doing your job behind the scenes, from those small town kids like me who joined the Navy to see what was beyond the cornfield, to all of the PhD level scientists and engineers and everybody in between. And I know what you're capable of, and you are the coalition that we need now. I don't need to tell you, but information warfare is essential. The capabilities are essential not only in their own right, but here in 2022, information warfare is crucial to the lethality of all other warfare areas, period. Information warfare is both the direct enabler of the high-end fight, and it's also the connective tissue that keeps all the other warfare areas operating at their highest potential. So for the purpose of this talk, I'm going to define information warfare capabilities as the systems, which is the hardware and the software, and the sailor who is properly trained, plus the tactics and the con-ops that are required. So you need all of those 3 groups combined in order to actually have a high-end capability. And as such, maintaining the readiness of all of that, maintaining the readiness of information warfare is a really big challenge. And usually it's more like that second disaster ending I was describing. The carrier strike group starts through the OFRP. A lot of things happen people should have seen coming. But yet, they come into COM2X, and a swarm of CAS reps open at COM2X, even though there were so many warning signs that happened before. But then, of course, there's the hero's journey that occurs. The regional maintenance centers and the system ICEAs, they take heroic efforts, and they get that CSG or that ARG ready, and then just in time for COM2X, the ship's crew sails on through. COM2X was a success, and all is well. And that is the movie that plays over and over and over for every carrier strike group and ARG. But I believe there's a better way. Yet no matter how amazing you are, you cannot do it alone. And no matter how hard I try, I can't do it alone. So then who can we count on? Who is responsible to improve information warfare readiness afloat? I'll give you a spoiler alert. It's like safety and security. It's everybody's responsibility. So if we really want to get to a time where a CSG sails on through the OFRP and arrives at COM2X and is truly ready to enter into high-end warfighting training and exercises, then we need each and every one of you and me and my team, and we all need to work together to solve this problem. We need everybody from the small town sailors to those PhD level scientists and engineers and leaders. We need every one of us working in the same direction so we can accomplish this mission. Are you in? I'd like to share with you on that note a few things that I'm going to commit that NAVIFOR is doing in order to support information warfare, in order to improve information warfare readiness. So increasingly, the fleet commanders, Admiral Paparo and Admiral Cottle, are asking for help with information warfare readiness afloat. And we do most of this work in support of the platform TICOMs, in support of ComNav Sur 4, Air 4, Sub 4. And so one of the ways that we are doing this at NAVIFOR headquarters and at NAVIFOR West is that we are leading the C5I Wholeness Campaign Plan. And this is a campaign plan that was started at Fleet Forces under Admiral Grady, and now Admiral Cottle, that he's in the seat, has decided to continue it. And we'll be probably expanding it a little bit. And so far it's been very information warfare focused, but we will be transitioning to a little more combat systems in the future. We have a strong partnership for this effort with PEOC4I and NAVIFOR, and then we will be looking in the future to pull in IWS more than they already are, and NAVC as well. Under the current versions of this campaign plan, we have a shift. The previous version kind of had it was focused on SOVOTs and SOTs and just making sure the systems are working. But now we're going to focus to take actions that move readiness left in the OFRP to be well ahead of COM2X. And there's several initiatives that we're working as part of this. Under the C5I campaign plan, we have an information warfare readiness continuum. This readiness continuum, we call it IWRC for short. And so this IW readiness continuum is a tool. It's a tool to support the information warfare commanders so that they can own their own readiness. And it's both a series of events that is focused 100% on information warfare, man, train, and equip issues for a specific CSG or amphibious readiness group. And then in those events, the information warfare commander briefs NAVIFOR, but also we have the platform TICOMs, and we have SysComs and other critical stakeholders there. And they'll brief their issues, and often right in those meetings, we solve problems. And that's part of this coalition that I'm talking about. And then NAVIFOR takes the actions after those, and we track them to resolution through executive steering committees and other efforts that we have. Another effort we have under the C5I campaign plan is the Troubled Systems program. So right now, we are leading a couple of programs that are considered to be troubled systems. By troubled systems, we mean systems that they have a required operational availability, and for some reason they are not meeting that operational availability. So let's say that they have a required operational availability of 0.9, but maybe they have one that's only 0.7 now, then people need to take actions to try to improve that operational availability. And so far, just depending on a SysCom working alone or a TICOM working alone, it hasn't been very successful in a couple cases. So NAVIFOR now is leading within this surface warfare enterprise and the information warfare enterprise these wellness campaign plans as well. And that'll be underneath the C5I campaign plan. And as one system improves and gets back to its required operational availability, then we will also be pulling in new systems that need that kind of focused love. And then PEOC4I is also leading an LOE underneath the campaign plan. And Rear Admiral Rothenhaus has a sailor self-sufficiency effort, and he'll be speaking on Friday. But I just want to highlight that is an LOE, and I don't want to steal his thunder. But that LOE is focused on things that we can do to help a sailor maintain their own equipment. And that's one of the things we could really use help from all participants here today, the industry and everybody, is finding ways to help sailors take care of their own equipment. And the NAVIFOR FRD is also leading an effort in conjunction with Project Overmatch to provide additional testing prior to COM2X. So on the groups that will be receiving Project Overmatch in the future, they will be doing additional testing prior to COM2X to ensure that the systems are tested and ready to proceed into COM2X. And there's probably going to be other LOEs in the future that will be underneath that. So we look forward to talking to you more on that when we have opportunities. One of Vice Admiral Ashback's strong mantras is in relation to afloat readiness is that the information warfare commander should own their readiness. They should be the strongest advocates for their carrier strike group or their amphibious readiness group. The information warfare commanders have a huge job, but in order to do that job, they need not only the carrier to be at its highest level of readiness, but all the crewed ships as well, and the same for the ARGs. They need their entire amphibious readiness group to be at the highest level, not just the force level asset. So I believe there's some things that we can do to help an information warfare commander own their readiness. One is to clearly define information warfare equipment required to conduct their missions, and then also the combat systems equipment required. And there's a critical Venn diagram between combat systems and information warfare, and that overlap is critical for the naval operational architecture for the Navy, but also I believe that so that's a bigger picture view of why we need to understand the equipment, but then there are smaller reasons that we need to understand that equipment as well. One is to ensure, I think that we can work with the platform TICOMs and the fleet commanders to identify red lines. If we understood this and we understood the equipment required, let's say we use the lines of distributed maritime operations, if we use the lines of DMO, and we are able to identify equipment that said, if you want to do like line 17, you need this equipment. Then if we can do that, we will be able to identify red lines that occur so that Admiral Papara or Admiral Cottle would be able to decide that this asset is or isn't ready in order to go into this high-end fight that could happen in the future. We can also do things like, and I know that Admiral Rothenhaus is thinking about this as well, is to do things like develop an information systems operational sequencing system, ISOS, which some of you may know CSOS, the combat systems version of that. And also, if we have it very clearly defined, it would enhance the ability to collect readiness metrics and create readiness dashboards. And I know that people think that these readiness dashboards already exist, but they don't exist in the way that people think they do. Right now, there's things like Raven and Jupiter and other things, and they're all getting there. They're all a really great start. But I can tell you that still here in 2021, there are far too many high-paid officers and contractors that are literally collecting daily CASREP updates by hand and hand jamming them into spreadsheets. And that should not be a thing. That is astonishing that is still occurring. And I know that I have a very enterprising lieutenant who's trying to change the world all the time. And he's working with one of the program offices to have a visualization that is set up for him or specifically. And then we got a note that was going to cost us $50,000. So I feel like that in this day and age, we need visualizations that are fully customizable. If you're a fleet commander, if you're an information warfare commander, if you are a IT2 on a ship, or if you are at a TICOM, you have different levels of understanding, but we all need the same data lake. But it's the detail by which we zoom in or zoom out and to focus like only on a carrier strike group or focus only on the Pacific. And that should be something that every user can just set up their own dashboard in order to create this. It shouldn't be that, because if my lieutenant sets his dashboard up the way he likes it, information warfare commander on the Carl Vinson probably wants a different version. And so everybody can't cost $50,000 every time somebody wants a slightly different dashboard. So that's one problem we could really use some help with. And there's a lot more we can do, but between Faisal Lashback talking and Realmer Banaza talking later on this week, I don't want to steal their thunder as well. So like I said, NAVIFOR can't do this alone. We need strong partnership from all of these organizations, the TICOMs, industry, the SysComs. We need the strong partnership. So I have 5 challenges I would like to give each of you from your own perspectives. And then if you know me, I 100% commit to doing my part and having my own challenge that I will do right alongside you. So first, for the ship's force, for the sailors and the officers out there, I'm so excited to hear about things like the CNO's Get Real, Get Better, the Warrior Toughness programs, the Navy coaching programs. I wish some of these would have been around when I was coming up. But if I would encourage you to use some of the tenets of those programs to focus on information warfare readiness. When you have technicians and operators and others, take the tenacity and the determination and those parts of that and put it in, encourage your sailors to try, that they can fix things if they get the tech manual, they talk to the help desk, they are capable of more than they imagine. Another thing I would ask for the ship's force is do not be satisfied. Do not be satisfied. If you look around, have high expectations for yourself, have high expectations for your sailors, and have high expectations for the TICOMs and the other fleet command, the fleet support commands, the SysComs. If you see a pile of monitors in the corner, don't just let them sit there. Think to yourself, why are those there? And then if nobody knows the answer, start calling people. Call the help desk, call the ICA, call the APM, call me. Just don't let it just sit there. Do not be satisfied. And then ask yourself, oh, a tech is coming. Well, did you actually talk to the tech? Did you actually email with them? Do you know? Like, I'm sort of saying like ABCs here, but the reason I'm saying this is because you will never believe how often it happens. And so everybody is here to help this ship. We are all going to be there for you. But we just need you just to do the part that you can do. Because believe it or not, if you don't report a CAS rep or a job for your system that has a fault, it is very possible that nobody else will know that anything's wrong. And you can't just like email your buddy on the other ship. That's not good enough. So please get your stuff into the system. And once you do that, there is a whole bunch of people there to come help you and you'll get your problem solved. And if you're really at your wit's end and you don't know what to do, call your counterpart at one of the TICOMs, SUR4, Air4, or NAVIFOR. It's sort of like phoning a friend that has had your exact problem 100 times or more. And the times that we see something that we have never seen before, it's very rare. So if you just want somebody that literally knows what to do, give us a call. We'll help you. So long story short, either fix it or elevate it. For the ship COs and XOs, I just have one quick ask for you. Pull in the information warfare commander to advocate for you. I know that the IWC does not directly work for you, but they are your partner. They need your ship to work as much as you do. So if you are a CO or an XO, pull the IWC in and let them help. You're on the same team. For the training commands, I would ask for you to drive ever increasingly ways to update your curriculum. My entire career so far, over 30 years, people have been begging for capability to be delivered faster. Well, we are here. DevSecOps is a thing, and capability is going to start coming faster than people know what to do with it. So I request that the training commands get even more innovative in ways to do this. And so, like I said, I know Admiral Bernaz is going to talk about some really cool stuff, LVC and other things, I'm sure. But personally, from my perspective, I would ask that the training commands find more innovative ways to train maintenance. I was a prior enlisted cryptologic technician maintenance, CTM, and from where CTMs were to where they are now, I'm still surprised. We can do better for training maintenance. Back when I was the Spectral APM at PMW 120, I did have opportunities to engage with many industry partners, and I saw what you're capable of, and that was 3 or 4 years ago. So I am certain that there is even more that you can do today. So please drive more innovative maintenance training. And then for the TICOMs, for Surf 4, Air 4, Sub 4, and definitely for NAVIFOR. In most cases, you have done a lot of things throughout your career to make you the right person to represent a 3-star at a TICOM platform or otherwise. And I remember back when I was a lieutenant commander at ComNav Surf 4, and I remember the first day I sent an email out as the Force Information Warfare Officer, and I felt the weight of that job. Being a person at a TICOM is, especially Surf 4 and Air 4, I'm sure, is a weight that you have the responsibility. You feel like you are solely responsible for these. And I know people like Jen, and you take great care of the ITs, and I'm sure you feel that weight. And I'm sure all the platform TICOMs do. So there are not enough people at the there are not enough information warfare people at the TICOMs. Therefore, I would urge all TICOM members to band together, talk to everybody at every other TICOM, talk to NAVIFOR, become best friends, become a strong group, link arms. We can only do this together. Not any one of us can do it by ourselves. And when we do that, there'll be no stopping us. For the SysComs, my challenge for the SysComs is this. I have a very special place in my heart for the SysComs. I have been where you are, and I understand the weight of your jobs. From Congress to ASNRDA to fleet commanders, the TICOMs, ships forces, often you are the only ones that have the answers, and you are pulled in a million directions. But I tell everybody this is what I know about the SysComs. There are thousands of the hardest working people I have ever met there, and they are all doing their best. And the sheer scope of what they're responsible for is mind-boggling. And so now here we are with Project Overmatch and Overmatch Software Armory, and they've had this move to more scalable software, more hardware agnostic systems, and other things. And I really think that we are on the edge of the SysComs being able to deliver capability that we have always wanted. So my ask to the SysCom are 2 things. One is to always keep the ship's crew in the front of your mind. That sailor. Never forget that you were developing this for a sailor. And then 2, I would request, basically on that note, that you always drive more human systems integration, workflow mapping, AI, ML, and all of these things into the system as early as you can. And for the SysComs, I know you love to defer training. So the good news is, the more intuitive you make a system, the less training you'll need. And then finally, for our all-important industry partners, you are the ones charged in many ways with the most challenging job of all. The industry partners must design, develop, and field this critical capability that we need. And so I would ask you to look, while you are developing this critical information or systems, I would request that you remember, think about today's high school students. The kids that are in high school today will be the sailors in 2 to 4 years. And those sailors have never, the kids in high school right now have, I know because my son is in high school. These kids have never had a life where an iPhone did not exist. So they understand what intuitive is. And a lot of what is currently fielded is a long way from intuitive, even to this day here in 2022. I think we can do better. So keep those kids in your mind, because they're the ones that are going to be operating these systems. The good news is they're incredibly smart. Generation Z, Generation Alpha, they've been in STEM classes since they were in preschool. Data science, computer science, programming, you name it. They have been doing that. So you're going to get a bright young crew of sailors coming, but they need the systems that are intuitive enough for them to operate. And another thing about kids, well, yeah. And I think that we owe it to them to prioritize the human interface and the design. That's just one of my things I'm really going to jump on. And then for both this, for the SysComs, one thing I wanted to add on to this is that if you are at POC4I and you who is your counterpart at IWS? If you have things that you integrate with, who do you talk to at IWS, and vice versa? If you are at IWS, who do you talk to at POC4I? That is just a relationship that needs to be greatly improved, and I would encourage you to do so. So the government is not perfect. I know that might be hard to believe. We have people at all levels, and we're all trying to do the right thing. The sailors are trying to do the right thing, all the way up to people like me. We are, every day we go to work and we really care. That's one of the coolest things about being working for the military, is it's very easy to have a personal passion for the work you do. So everybody's trying to do the right thing. But yet sometimes when those program managers defer training, then I'd ask for the industry partners to think about this, that a program manager sometimes makes a decision in an acquisition that causes big problems for the fleet later. But in the moment, it kept the program alive. In the moment, it kept that system, that it keeps Congress and AS and RDA saying, okay, you can keep going. But then those decisions cause big impacts later. So for the industry, you understand the constraints under which the government program managers work. And I would ask that you find more creative ways to help them solve their problems. So if they think they need to defer training for some reason, then try to help them find more creative ways that could be resolved. And I think that there's enough money. I mean, I know we're not going to need more money, but honestly, if we really focus this in the right direction, I think we can solve a lot of problems with our existing resources. And I would just like you to have this quote. This is something I thought about, and I think that this is, I think I'm going to hang this on my wall. There will never be a cheaper, easier time to develop intuitive, integrated, sailor-friendly systems designed with automated workflows and maximum sustainability than right from the start. So you got to do it early, and that's the cheapest way to get it done. So you got to start with the sailor in mind. So then even if the government program manager seems like they might be in programmatic survival mode, offer your recommendations, help them solve their problems, and then always keep the sailor and the future fight that we all know that we are preparing for. Keep that at the front of your mind as you engage with your government sponsors. So one of the best things about conferences like this is that it provides opportunities for government, industry, and all levels to communicate, collaborate, share challenges, share possible solutions. And when we do this, this is going to lead us to that coveted third ending I was talking about at the beginning. And when we do this, the operational commanders will be able to task the strike group commanders and the IWCs and their teams, and they will succeed. They will increase lethality so that we can deter, compete, and win. Not only in those small, quiet ways behind the scenes, but also in the ways that turn the tide of history, should it ever be necessary. Thank you. So are there any questions? I could take a couple questions if there are any, and if not, that's fine.
Good morning, Tammy.
Hi.
As you're tracking, I just got back from underway on board USS Paul Hamilton.
Yes.
Very, very smart sailors. They're actually, to give you a heads up of our meeting next week, they're writing white papers to you with problems, impacts, and proposed solutions for the issues that they're having as IT2s with training, with understanding, with the tests and everything like that. What is a better way other than those individual visits to make sure that our IT2s and these young people that have amazing ideas are able to get it to you at a more rapid pace so that we could work on integration?
That's a good question. I would love to work with you and SUR4 and AIR4 on that possibility. I think that they're, just as you were talking, I kind of had some brainstorm ideas flow through, but we could theoretically set up like an idea board or something where the TICOMs get together and let sailors send us ideas, because it's sort of like Lean Six Sigma and other things. It's the people who are on the line that are doing the work that know it needs to be fixed. So the more work that we can do to get their voice heard, and then take people like us working together, we can implement some of their changes. So, and I look forward to doing that. Any other questions? No? All right, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.